afternoon, and welcome to Who's Tom and Dick, with your hosts Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. Good afternoon, Martin. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Good afternoon to you, Patrick, and good afternoon to everybody who's listening.
What do you think of the Christmas theme?
I love it. Yeah, we're going to play it each week after Christmas.
Friday the 8th of December. We're well into silly season now.
I know. I haven't got any presents yet.
No. Well, you don't get them till Christmas Day.
No, I know. I have to go on that famous website and get some, I think.
Yeah. Well, we are in silly season now, so strange things are happening afoot. We've got quite packed out show to get in today, haven't we?
We have, yeah. It seems to be, we might have to go to 2 shows with all the stuff we've got with this afternoon.
Yeah, catching up on last week, hey? That was an experience, wasn't it?
That was, yeah.
The wives.
Did we take a bashing?
Not really, did we? I was quite surprised.
I
think we come out pretty unscathed.
And what I was surprised at was also the girls took to being recorded because they were both nervous, weren't they, about, sitting with microphones, and everybody gets, frightened of the microphone in front of them, but they were, but it didn't come across like that, did it?
No, well, I can tell you that Wendy was absolutely petrified, and just before we started recording, her hands were wringing wet with fear, I think.
Linny told me that.
Yeah.
She actually held her hand and showed her.
Oh, did she? Yeah. So they didn't find it a sort of a normal experience, but I think they come across really well.
You know why?
Why?
It's because we sat with them.
Yeah.
That was the reason.
Perhaps they took some influences from us.
You never know.
No. But it was a great podcast, a little longer than normal. But we come to expect that when our wives start talking, don't we?
Yeah, and every now and again we'll do this because we've got other podcasts that we've got lined up, haven't we? That we'll make sort of longer. And I mean, as you said, the girls, whatever they wanted to talk about, we talked about it, didn't we?
Yeah, really went down well and was received really well. Loads of downloads. Yeah,
I know, Andrew. Yeah, lots of positive comments, and lots of people actually before it even went out were saying, I can't wait till Friday's episode.
Yeah, I don't know what they were expecting, but still. Well, this brings me on to the special assignment week. Do you remember us at your special assignment last week?
Do you know what? I do remember.
Well, I think it was the week before, wasn't it? So
it was. And I only remember it because you reminded me.
Oh, right. Okay.
but it was only in the first week that I hadn't done it because I was so busy. And I was going to find out the name of my cancer because everybody asked, I just say I've got, stage 4 lung cancer. And I've never really, pronounced it or learnt it. But it's adenocarcinoma.
Right, I can see you reading that off of a sheet of paper.
But people can't see that.
I know, but does that mean you know it now, or you still need
No, I keep that in my pocket.
Right, okay, yeah.
In fact, I've got it on a photograph on my phone.
Yeah.
So I remember it that way. But it's a non-small cell lung cancer. That's what it actually is.
Okay.
So
that's interesting because there's 200 different cancers around. And
yeah. Well, we'll find that out, won't we?
Yeah.
Because of who we've got coming in as one of the guests. But the tablets I'm on are Lobular. I might have pronounced that wrong last time.
That's the new
new revolutionary
tablet.
ones. Yeah.
Right.
Lobular.
Yeah. Can you spell that?
Yeah. It's LORLATINIB, Lobular.
And that's working well for you on your lung cancer, isn't it?
It is, and it might even be worth if other people are going to see oncologists and they've got a good oncologist who they can talk to. Perhaps they could mention it. Should we put the name of it up on our website?
Yeah, well, you're meant to be doing a report on your cancer for me, so we can put a blog up. So
okay.
Put that in there, I'll make sure it goes up.
Yeah, okay,
Excellent.
and I'll put the name of the cancer that I've got because obviously that Lobular doesn't treat every cancer.
Right.
It's a specialised, because I've got a friend called Rose and her son actually works in a factory where they make cancer tablets.
Yeah.
And she said, they've got a brand new tablet they've just brought out. They said, perhaps it might be the one you're going to use. And I looked at it and it wasn't. And I asked my oncologist and he said he knew of the one that they've made.
Yeah.
So he was aware of that. But that was for a different lung cancer altogether.
Right. Okay.
So it just shows you how many different kinds of, lung cancers there are. How many did you say there are? 200?
200, I think, yeah, there's a number that's bandied about.
But you think how many different out of the 200 of lung cancers there are?
Yeah. Another interesting thing that happened to us this week.
Yeah.
We were invited on to BBC Breakfast Radio.
Oh, yeah. We're stars now.
We are, yeah. That went down pretty well, didn't it?
It did, actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and that came out of the blue, wasn't it?
Yeah,
didn't it? We want to, if he's tuning in, because he is following this, and he said he would tune in. Thanks very much, Wayne, for interviewing us.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah, we could be ourselves, couldn't we?
And we didn't fluff it up, I don't think, did we?
No, did we? And we didn't have a script.
No.
But
even though you had forgotten to take your tablets that morning.
I did, yeah. My wife actually wanted to ring up. This is what my wife said to me. She said, I'd love to have rung up and told them that you'd forgotten your tablets. I said, I think that'd have been funny. She didn't know the number. Yeah. And they even let me do my joke of the week on there, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So, that was a nice little thing to do.
I had to get up a little earlier than I normally do. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realise that sort of 7 o'clock in the morning, that was dark.
Is there a 7 o'clock in the morning? I didn't get up at 7.
No, that was dark outside. I thought, hang on a minute, this can't be right. I checked the clock.
People reckon there's an 8 o'clock in the morning, but not for me.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shock to
Not
the
now
system.
I'm retired.
That's certainly a shock to my system. I know. I was recovering all day after that. The day was so long.
It was, yeah. No, I was up at 7 as well. But I got caught in a lot of traffic and I was panicking because I rang you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said, where are you? And you said, I'm there. And I said, well, I'm stuck in a mile of traffic here. And luck would have it, I just got through and they saved 2 parking spaces for us, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
We'll have to put that on the website. The picture of 2 cones with our names on it. That means we really have made it.
I know. Anyway, you've got some interesting subjects to talk about today, haven't you?
Yeah.
Quite serious subjects.
Yeah, they are very serious. And I was going to talk about breast cancer. Quite close to my heart that one of my friends, a lady called Sarah Barkley, she's from right up north. The reason I know them is because I used to meet them in Benidorm.
Right.
And whenever I did my show, they used to come and meet me afterwards and keep me informed how Sarah's cancer was and all that. When I came back to England, I did my first show back at Preston. And my phone went, and it was Gary and her husband. And he said, how you doing, Martin? I said, I'm doing fine. I said, got a new group started. And as I'm doing it, my phone went off with a picture come up.
Yeah.
And I looked, and he'd taken a picture of himself standing outside the club in Preston where I was singing that night.
Right.
Yeah. And so I said, are you here? And so I went rushing down the stairs there. And so he came all the way to Preston to Manchester he comes from. That's right. Yeah, Manchester. Yeah, so Sarah, she's actually had some really, really good news now. She's had breast cancer.
Yeah.
And the doctors can't believe how well she's doing. And now she's had 3 scans and she's officially in remission.
Right.
Yeah, she's got stage 4 and she had a prognosis of 13 months.
Yeah.
And it's just simply amazing. Gary says it's a miracle. But Sarah's still on immunotherapy monthly and will have to continue it for quite a while.
Right.
But this show, I think we'll dedicate this show to Sarah.
Yeah, by all means.
Shows how you can, be diagnosed with, cancer like I was. And I had good news last week with my cancer melting away. And Sarah now, 3 scans in a row.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm really pleased for her.
Must give a lot of hope to everybody, really.
Oh, God, yeah.
Do you know whether she rang the cancer bell?
Gary never told me that.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, because we did a big thing on that. Well, Gary will tune in, and so I'll speak to him and ask him, and then I can mention about that.
So if she was given 13 months, that must have been a terminal diagnosis.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And to turn that around is brilliant, doesn't it?
Yeah, but what I wanted to mention today was that I always look through various magazines and things like that, and I came through this story about these 2 ladies in America, and it proves with breast cancer, and we're speaking here. I'm going to mention about these 2 ladies in America, and Sarah, but it doesn't obviously just happen to women.
No,
1% of breast cancers are men.
Right.
So it just shows you, fellas, don't take it for granted that you won't get breast cancer. Some of you can. So, but these two ladies in America are survivors of a rarer type of the disease, and they're now warning other women about the symptoms that doctors nearly missed.
What were the symptoms?
Well, neither women felt lumps in their breasts before visiting the doctor. So most people say, when you get a lump, that is, the sign of, the cancer. But these women never had it. So they urge people to really, really look at their body and to pay real good attention.
All right. So you can tell us a bit about the ladies, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Olivia Franz and Meadow Bailey were the ladies, and they were both diagnosed with a less common breast cancer, despite not showing the characteristic lumps that women usually find. So Mrs Franz was 27 when she was diagnosed with stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer, which they label IBC. So if I mention IBC, that's what it is, inflammatory breast cancer. And all she noticed was a swelling while breastfeeding her son. So she went to the doctors, and she was misdiagnosed with mastitis at first, because that's what a lot of women get when they're breastfeeding. And this is a swelling in the breast, usually caused by an infection.
That can be quite common in breastfeeding, can't it?
Yeah, it can, yeah. Mrs Franz has gone worldwide and told Good Morning America even. So that's a big TV programme to go on, that it has spread into her bones. So Miss Franz has been on a week of antibiotics previous to this, and she noticed her breasts were very red and almost doubled in size. So and she also noticed discharge from her nipple. So Mrs Franz had to go for an ultrasound and a biopsy, and then she received the diagnosis of the IBC.
It's a good job she had the ultrasound.
It is, yeah, because as I mentioned earlier, this does not always present you with the common symptoms and lumps. So Mrs Franz was also worried about leaving her new son without a mum. So her next thoughts were that she didn't want to do this, so she'd do whatever it takes to keep herself for him.
Right. So what percentage of cancer does IBC account for then?
It accounts for 1 to 5% of all breast cancer cases. It normally tends to occur in women younger than 40 years old, and is a more aggressive growing and spreading cancer than the more common forms of cancer.
When is this cancer normally diagnosed?
Is often diagnosed at the later stages, unfortunately. The cancer has already spread to other parts of the body, making it harder to treat. And there are other symptoms that you can look out for. So if your breasts are warm to touch, swelling of the lymph nodes under the arms, and inverted nipples. So if you get a change like that, ladies, doesn't always mean to say you've got to get a lump. These are other signs of a breast cancer. But the 5-year survival rate for IBC that has spread to the distant parts of the body, like the bones in Mrs Franz cases, is 19%.
You mentioned another lady.
Yeah.
Tell us about her.
Yeah, Mrs Bailey. She'd always been healthy, active, and she never missed a yearly mammogram. And shortly after her 49th birthday, doctors called her in after noticing something in her latest breast screening. And Mrs Bailey thought it was no big deal, but the radiologist was looking with an ultrasound and found an area of concern. So she asked the radiologist if it was cancer, and they said yes.
So what sort of cancer was diagnosed in this case?
Mrs Bailey was diagnosed with stage 1 lobular breast cancer, which is a different one, slightly to the other one. This is like the IBC, typically grows and spreads without forming a distinctive lump. Mrs Bailey said she never felt a lump, as she felt so good, and this had caught her off guard.
Never heard of that before. Tell us a bit more about lobular cancer.
So lobular cancer begins in the milk-producing gland of the breast, and is the second most common form of breast cancer. It accounts for 10 to 15% of diagnosed cases. It can be hard to detect and diagnose because of the abnormal way the cell grows. It's the way it makes it hard to detect on a mammogram.
Yeah. So sum all this up, what would you say?
Well, like we mentioned earlier, IBC symptoms don't always include a lump and can present an inverted nipple, a change in the texture of the breast and skin and swelling. So they're the signs to look out for, ladies. And the 5-year survival rate of lobular breast cancer is nearly 100%, so when treated early. Both women receive specialised and breakthrough treatments at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. And the good news is that Mrs Franz has been cancer-free for 3 years, and Mrs Bailey has been cancer-free for 1 year. And following their experiences, both women urge that others pay attention to the change in their bodies and recommend that you undergo regular screening.
Yeah, I think, isn't regular screening called mammograms from my
that's
experience?
That's called a mammogram when they have that, yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
I mean, down at our local sports centre at the moment, the NHS have got a big articulated lorry trailer, and that's got NHS mammogram screening on it. So I guess that's
You're right.
the sort of thing you do and keep up regular screening.
Yeah, you're right. There was one in where I live, and my wife went in just for just a quick checkup, really. So it's a good thing, and we would urge people to do it, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I was looking at the statistics on that. I mentioned that 370 men were diagnosed each year in the UK. 55,000 women are diagnosed each year in the UK.
Wow.
So that put that into perspective a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, in America, every year, breast cancer accounts for around 30% of all new cancer cases in the USA.
Yeah.
So
important for the early diagnosis and to get checked if you've got the opportunity.
It is. We put on their forum about if anybody would like to join in and write in with their experiences. And we formed a breast cancer one. Yeah. And we had a lovely letter from a lady called Louise. But she's, and I'll read it out because it's her personal letter to me. Thank you very much, Louise, for doing this. And she says, "Hi, my name is Louise, and I'm just celebrating my 5 years clean from having breast cancer. I currently work at Stanton GP surgery, and so some people might know me. I was 38 when I was diagnosed. It was late December, and I'd lost my mum to pancreatic cancer in the May. My nipple started to bleed after a workout class, and I thought it was odd and thought nothing of it until it happened again at work." Now, that's what happened with that lady in America, wasn't it, you see?
Yeah.
So there wasn't necessarily a lump there. And so Louise goes on, "What followed was about 2 years of chemotherapy, lumpectomy, a stroke, infections, and countless bad days and high days. She lost all her hair and gained 3 stone in weight from the steroids." Louise carries on and says, "She's had countless wigs and funny little things they done as a family to get through it. My children at the time were 17, 15 and 9, and we laughed our way through it, all with a lot of banter and mickey taking. I'd been a chemo support worker at a London hospital. I would help with PICC lines and bloods for all cancer patients, and I'd gained a lot of patient knowledge. I had come to realise that there are 2 types of cancer fighters. One who wants to know every little detail, and ones who don't. Guess which one I am?"
You're the one that wants to know everything.
Oh, yeah. So I went through it all very blinkered in a way, as I was petrified. So I thought, the less I know, the less scary it will be. It was hard to do it without a mum, and hard on my children to see their mum fight with something that had taken their nan only months before. But we came through it, and I'm still here, cancer-free, and still as nutty as before. She's a firm believer in PMA, which we all know as positive mental attitude. And without it, that cancer black hole looks very inviting, and it's been a strength. With it, that hole looks less frightening and grows smaller every day. I lost friends I'd made through my journey, and I've had my days when I still think, why am I still here? Especially after 3 years after my treatment stopped, I lost my dad to liver cancer. Well, it's just one thing after another, isn't it,
Yeah.
with Louise? One thing I will say, and some might say I'm crazy saying this, but I'm thankful that cancer chose me. It changed my life in so many ways, and it's made me a better person, and it's made me realise who were my ride or dies, and what really matters above all else, live your life. That's exactly, well, you know me.
Yeah.
That's me down to a T as well. And I think that people should be positive.
We are trying to present positive mental attitude on this program, hence that's why we're doing it, really. But
yeah,
I think a health scare such as this, I don't know about you, but I had a lot of time to sit at home and think after the heart attack. But you do actually appreciate the simple things a lot more than you ever did. I mean, you look out the window and look at a tree and you think, what a beautiful colour it is and things like that.
Yeah.
You walked past it before.
I know.
Which is amazing. But they're not all good stories. I mean, some people are really battling and having a hard time of it, and not everybody has got a positive mental attitude, and some people deal with it in different ways as well. And I had a message on the website from a Talisha Greer, and she said, I can't stand battling stage 4 breast cancer, especially in my lungs. I'm here for another x-ray. The fluid has built up in my lungs again. This is the 3rd time in 4 months. How do I continue my life like this?
That happened to me. And I was telling you about my liquid, because you couldn't believe the volume of it in my lungs. And saying, was it sloshing around? And although it doesn't really, slosh around, this happened to me. So what was the lady's name?
Talisha Greer.
So Talisha, hopefully you listening to this podcast. Bear in mind that sometimes this cancer liquid can come back. Everybody makes this liquid, but when you have what causes the cancer is the way that it's dispelled from the body. If it won't go away, that's when you're getting cancer. But when it goes away, you're clear. So mine, I had a few litres drained, and then one day I had to go back and I had 4.5 litres drained in one session, and then it just goes from there on. And in fact, do you know what I found in my records the other day? I found my book.
Right.
And it showed all the different stages of when I was having my lungs drained. Have faith that it will drain, especially if you're on the right pill. I mean, my cancer pill dried mine up completely. And that was the only thing that I was having at the time that stopped it. And you can see there's a slow progression on my chart, and getting down to 500 mil and all things like that. And some days just nothing at all.
Yeah.
So it does go eventually.
So there is some hope there.
And it was a couple of months. It wasn't sort of weeks or days. Fingers crossed it works for you.
That's good that you reached out to us, and, reaching out and getting help from others and talking about it helps, and trying to get a positive mental attitude is not always easy.
Oh, God, yeah.
Interesting subject and very complex, and we can go on for months and years about this, couldn't we?
We could. I've got some news.
Oh, what's that?
Do you remember, it wasn't the last podcast, it was the one before, we had this debate. I was going to throw this NHS letter away because I thought, I can't be bothered to fill out the form. The survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've actually filled out the form.
Right.
And it's gone off.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's all
done.
posted. And it said it takes 10 minutes. Well, they fibbed a little bit. It did take a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, I suppose that depends on you.
How quick you can read.
yeah, basically. How intelligent you are, I was going to say.
Oh, thanks. No, it only takes about a quarter of an hour. But as I say, and I took a photograph so you can put it on the website to show everybody that I've actually done it. Another task I've fulfilled.
Yeah, it's good you've done your piece, because obviously, as people like you that help the oncologists and the scientists come up with these new answers and drugs and things.
Well, it did ask you all about your treatment and, were the doctors there always there for you? And, so it really went into, your stay in hospital and that. So it was, very thorough. Yeah,
talking about the... steroids that you're on, that you're blaming for putting on weight. You were at once 20 stone, weren't you?
Yes.
That's 20 stone, if anybody didn't get that. 20 stone.
But
I don't know what that is in kilograms.
I was going to say, no, I don't. You have to look it up.
Did you see on the TV this week, Cliff Richard had made a comment about having a photograph taken with Elvis Presley, and he didn't want to go ahead with it because Elvis was too fat.
Really?
Yeah, he said he wanted to wait until he had lost some weight and looked good, because he didn't want to put a picture on his refrigerator with Elvis looking the way he did.
That's interesting.
Now, that's actually created quite a lot of flack, because totally out of character for him, but that's not a nice thing to say on mainstream TV.
Mind you, did he really say it? Or
I've seen the video.
Oh, right.
I've seen it. I've actually seen it in the flesh.
Oh, it's not just a newspaper report.
Oh, no. I made a point of making sure I watched it before I brought this up because we're talking about the way people look. So, yes, Cliff Richard did actually say that.
Wow.
And it didn't go down very well, and he's received a lot of flack over it.
So he should.
Yeah. So, anyway, moving on from that, guess what, Martin?
What's that?
It's time for your joke of the week.
Oh, fantastic. Are you ready?
I'm ready as I will be.
There's no big build-up?
No.
Oh, God. I'm still waiting for this huge big jingle.
Okay.
But anyway, 2 television aerials get married last week. The ceremony wasn't much, but the reception was excellent. Thank you. And that's why you tune in.
Was that better for
Yeah,
you?
I like the ending.
Yeah, well, somebody laughed.
Me.
Well, there you go. A great joke from Martin again. Anyway, we've got to start rounding things up, Martin. We've got some exciting guests coming on in the future. One date has been agreed and penciled in, and the other date is we're waiting to sort out with the silly season in the way. But we've got Macmillan. Am I right?
Yeah, and Macmillan, the Macmillan Trust. We've got 2 people coming in from them to talk about what they do, because everybody around our area and most people in England know the name Macmillan, but do they know what they do?
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to find out, and if you've got any questions that you would like to ask the Macmillan Trust, then please put them on our website, and Patrick is always going to read out their website address.
www.who'stomanddick.com.
He does that so well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And the other guest you've lined up, really exciting guest, and this is where we need some questions.
Definitely questions from you, please, everybody. This is one of the top oncologists in the country. His name is Daniel Patterson, and he'll be coming into the studio and answering. We've got lots of questions for him, haven't we? And
we have, but not always our questions are that good sometimes, you know.
No, we're not experts.
You know, it'd be great to have some questions from you guys.
Yeah, and don't forget, on that website, it is so easy. You don't even have to write anything. There's a blue bit on the side, isn't there?
Yeah.
And people just hold that and record a message, don't they?
They do. That's simple. Very simple. Just go on a website and record a question.
So there are a couple of people we've got lined up, definitely.
That's quite exciting. As we're in silly season, I found something for you.
Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
I thought that was quite appropriate, given your news last week.
Yeah, it's very good.
Well, thanks again, Martin, for coming in.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
And we'll be back again next week. And we're well into the silly season, so we might have a few little jingles and funny bits going on.
Stay safe, folks, as always.
Yep, look after yourselves. Take care, everybody.
Have a good week.
See you soon.
Yeah, bye.